Hello, welcome to my little paintbrush. I am Miss Sarah, and I'm so glad you're painting with me today. I hope you enjoy yourself. Remember that you can pause the video if you need to catch up. You can also rewind if you miss something. There's a lot of options for you, so don't feel like you have to go at my pace. I have painted this before, so enjoy the process, okay? Be nice to yourself. We are learning together. And we love to be creative, right? So get creative, add things, take things away, make it yours, okay? All right, let's get started. So I have a couple of brushes I'm going to use today. I have a large flat, a medium flat, and a detail or line brush. These are my favorites to use. If you want to use something else, that's fine as long as it works for you, right? So you'll also need a couple of jars of water, at least one, to rinse your brush. Acrylic paint needs water. It gets very thirsty. So be sure to start by putting your brush in water and rinsing it out. Okay. And as you can see, we have our winter deer all sketched on the canvas for you, which is going to make this process pretty awesome. I hope you love it. I chose to go pretty light and use grays and pinks and golds in my painting. If you want to change it up, go for it. But I'm going to start first with our sky, and you'll see that our deer is traced in. There's a good chance he might disappear a little bit. That's okay, as long as you can still vaguely see the outline, you're okay. You may even want to have a pencil on hand so you can sketch him back in as you go if you start to lose him. It totally works just fine to do that. Let's start though with our moon. I have my colors all laid out for me, ready to go. I'm gonna first mix my pink. Okay, I want a good pile of pink, so I have my white here. I'm just gonna take a touch of red because I wanna keep it very light, and our red is super strong. We wanted to make sure you have enough to gauge that on your own. So if you want it more pink or less pink, you can do that, okay? You can adjust it. But I'm gonna keep mine pretty light. I wanna have my pile ready to go here. Okay, so I have a good pile of pink to fill my sky. And I'm gonna go ahead and just brush the pink I have on my brush along the edge of my horizon. Okay, and you'll notice I have my deer here. I'm just going to go right over my deer very lightly. I can still see the outline of my deer. If you're feeling like, oh no, I'm losing mine, then like I said, grab a pencil. You can just sketch that deer right back in. So I'm moving towards my moon, and you can see my streaks, right, in my painting. That's because when I mix my paint, I have some dark and some light pink in there. Now, as I go towards my moon here, I'm going to start curving my brush strokes. I really love to get all of those streaks, especially the curve, right? It's one of my favorite things to see the streaks in my painting. So if you start to see that, that's awesome. Just leave it alone. My canvas, my sky is slightly smaller than yours. You'll see my moon is closer to the top. It won't make a difference for you though. You just keep going straight to the top of your canvas. Just like that. Oh, I got red on my brush. That's okay. If that happens, just keep going. Brush it in. Keep working with it. I'm going to let those streaks keep showing up. I kind of like them. Right? Okay, but you can see I'm brushing around my moon, right? I'm keeping my brush strokes going around in a circle motion. And that's what's going to give you those fun sky streaks that we love so much around our moon. I just want to keep it moving, okay? And the reason we want to keep going pretty quickly here is because if your paint starts to dry, it won't blend or fade in as well. So we go pretty quick. Okay. As I get closer to my moon, I'm going to show you here what we're going to do. But we're filling in all the space for now. We will add that gray sky in a minute. Okay, but I'm getting closer to my moon here. I can still see my deer through my paint. If you have lost yours, just take a second, grab a pencil, and go over it before you lose it completely. All right. Now, I'm towards my moon here. Okay, so now I have this pink on my brush. I'm gonna just put some white on the corner, just like that. Okay, I have white on the corner. I'm gonna go around the edge of my moon now with that white facing inside my moon. I still have that pink on my brush, right, on one side. So you have pink on one side and white on the other. Just gonna go around my moon here and let that white fade into my moon. Trying to keep my circle. We're gently going around our circle and letting that white fade out. Okay. Ooh. If you need to go back and lighten it up like I do, because I got so much red in mine on accident there, that's okay. Just go right back over it real quick, just like that. Just keep your brush moving in that circle. Perfect. Going around our moon, trying to keep our circle there with the white facing in. All right, now once you've done that, I'm going to rinse my brush. Make sure all that pink is out of it. Okay, and I'm going to load it with some white. And we're going to paint our moon now. White. You're not really going to see it on your canvas very well. And that's okay. Just paint over that little antler there a little bit. You can still see it though, I hope. All right. Now I'm going to put some pink on the edge, very, very corner of my brush. Okay? So right on the corner, and I'm going to face that corner out towards the outside edge of my moon and go around backwards. So it's just like you did before, only we're going the opposite. We're going to put the pink on the outside and the white on the inside. And this is going to give us a little bit of pink in our moon. So I'm going to start bringing my pink up a little bit so I get a few little streaks. So I'm going to put that pink on the edge of my corner of my brush and just kind of streak a little bit of pink in my moon. I don't know if you can see that. I'll do it a little darker for you. You can just have fun with this. Maybe you just want to leave your moon white without the pink. That's okay too. But if you want to, you can add that pink into your moon. Get a little bit of a pink glow, just like that. Okay, so we have our moon and our sky in, just like that. Perfect. You can paint the top right here, but the edges are going to be a very light gray. So now that our pink is in, I'm going to come over here to my black and we're going to make a very, very light gray. Okay, black takes over. So I'm just doing a touch at a time and mixing it in with my white here. I want it pretty light. I don't want to go too dark with my gray. Okay, I'm just going to come up to the corners, right? And we're going to brush it in a circle pattern as well. Okay, all the way to that hill. And you're just going to let it fade into your pink. Your pink should be a little wet still. So it should just fade right in there for you. There we go. If you want it lighter, just add white to your gray. We're going to go over to the other corner and add some up here as well. Just let it fade into our pink. And remember, we have trees going in up here. So I'm not being too picky about where my gray ends down here because I have trees going up there. Okay, Now, if you want your pink to fade a little bit more into your gray, right over here, just put a little bit more pink on your brush and go into your gray like this, and back out and in and back out, and just let it fade into your pink. Okay, you just kind of want it to fade in. You can always add more pink or not. You can just leave it. If you want the corners darker, you can put more black on your brush and do the corners a little darker. This is completely a preference. There we go, perfect. I love it. I can still see my deer. I hope you can. If not, like I said, take that pencil and just pencil it in as we go. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put our snow in, and you can see all of our rolling hills, right? Okay, so first thing we need to do is just paint them white. So I'm gonna go right along the edge here and put a nice coat of white on. There we go. Just fill that in. This is gonna make it a lot easier for us to blend in a minute. So I want to give it a nice coat of white. I'm not painting in my deer. The deer doesn't need to be painted white unless you just want to. I'm painting around him. This is one of those things where you don't have to blend through your object. In fact, with the sky, if you want to go around your deer, you can. It's just a little bit trickier to get that smooth flow when you don't keep your brush moving. All right, so we're just gonna paint all of these white. Now this is gonna take a little bit of floating work to do. We want the top of our hill here to be very white. Okay, there's no shadow on the top. That moon is glowing right there. Okay, now we're gonna follow these lines. I want you to load your brush, a large flat with white. Okay, and come over here to the gray you made for your sky. If you need to make some more real quick, go for it. But I just want you to grab, let's see, I'm gonna make a little more actually, just to make sure I have a good amount for this. Okay, there we go. I rinse my brush. All right, so your snow is on the mountain, so your floating should go pretty easily. So take your flat brush. I rinsed mine out. That'll be easier for you. Put a little bit of gray here on the corner of your brush. Just gray on the corner, okay? And you're just gonna follow your lines with the brush facing up. Okay, well, here we go. We're gonna brush along those lines with the brush facing up. And it should fade away for you. I'm gonna come up a little bit to show a little bit of a shadow on my hill and give it some dimension. Okay. And then we're gonna come along this side with the brush facing up and do the same thing. You want to kind of work quickly because your paint will dry on you, which mine is, and so it's starting to get drippy because I had to add water. Okay. Go right along the edge there. And again, I'm going to add some of that shadow by letting my brush come up a little bit and letting that gray show up. Perfect. All right, let's do the same thing over here. Brush facing up. Put that shadow in along the hill. And I'm going to brush up a little bit so my shadow goes up the hill. But remember, we're going to add more as we do our tree, so don't worry too much about that. Make sure your brush is facing up though. You want the shadow to be going up the hill, not down. All right, I am going to go through the deer's legs right there just to keep my line smooth. Perfect. I'm going to make sure that one's on. It kind of dripped away from me. Give it a good shadow there. A little bit of a shadow, so I'm just kind of brushing that gray in very lightly. Very, very lightly. We don't want our gray to take over our snow, right? So being very light with my gray to put it in. Same here, very lightly brushing that shadow. All right. Rinse your brush. Really good. And now I'm going to load it up with some, nope, I need my shadow line right there to show up. There it is. Okay, so now I'm going to load my brush with white and make sure that this hill right here is really light. So if you feel like you got carried away with your shadow, you can just take some white and go right back into it a little bit. Brush it in. Keep the top of our hills as bright as we can to give it that illusion that that moon is just glowing on our hill. Okay. There it is. Perfect. Do a little more right here. Make sure you have a nice white hill. There we go. All right, so once you have that completed, you're about ready to add a little bit of pink from our sky. Okay, so now that I have that done, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit, of that pink from our sky on my brush. Okay, just a little bit on there. Make sure you wipe it off. You don't want too much. It's just really very, very light. We're going to lightly dust some pink on the top of our hills. You can just vaguely see it, right? And that's the idea. You don't want your snow to just be pink snow. We want to keep it like that. See, that's a little too pink for me. I'm going to brush that out. But we want to keep our snow white with a little bit of a reflection from the moon. Okay. Here we go. I'm just brushing away from the deer, just along the edge of that hill. And we'll put a little bit here. A little bit of pink. Awesome. Okay, there's our beautiful hills. I'm rinsing my brush here again. All right, we will wait and do the shadow work in a minute. But now that our hills are ready, we are ready to do our trees. And I love doing these trees. They are just so fun. So we have a couple of trees. I have 3 on this side and 2 on this side, believe it or not. One is on the very, very edge of each side, and then the other ones come in and follow it. Our trees in the background are gray to match our sky, right? So we're gonna do those first. So I want you to grab a detail brush. It's a line brush, okay? And let's just get our gray going here. I'm gonna mix a touch of black with white. You don't want it too dark, but you know, light enough that you can definitely see the contrast between the 2 trees, right? Okay, so I have one tree coming up here just as this heel starts to come down, and it comes up just over halfway above the moon in the background, okay? And then we have another tree that just follows the edge of your canvas, and one more in the middle of this hill, it lines up with the deer's tail, okay? And it's gonna come up in the front. So we're gonna do those back ones first. I'm gonna go ahead and just take my detail brush and create a line. Starting here, we're gonna go straight up if you can. I mean, trees are not perfect, right? They are not perfect. They're wiggly, they have different shapes to them. That's what makes them so fun. So just have fun with that line. It doesn't have to be the perfect line. I'm gonna come down. Now, as you come down to the base of your tree, let's go ahead and get a little wider and create a strong base for our tree, just along your hill. Okay, just like that. Perfect. All right, this one doesn't really need a line, but if it helps you to add one, go ahead and do that right along the edge of the canvas. And this tree comes right below here, right below your other one. This one's a little higher. Okay, let's go over here on this side and do the gray. So this tree is pretty tall, kind of lines up with this one. But I try not to have any of my trees be the same height. Sometimes they end up that way, but I really do try to make them different heights. So this one's going to land right at the top of the hill there. So there's our gray trees. Let's go ahead and put our black one in. I'm going to now rinse my brush and I'm adding black to it. But this way, when you put in your branches, you can gauge how wide you want them because your base is already on there. So this tree is going to line up with the tail and kind of right in the center of your hill there. We're going to go straight up if we can. Again, just be nice to yourself. It's pretty tricky to do a straight line. So your tree doesn't need to be perfectly straight. It can have lots of character to it. It can be squiggly. We're going to add lots of branches to it that changes the look too. Okay, once you have that, go ahead and give it a good strong base as well. Shape it out there. We'll come back and add a shadow in a minute to our tree, so don't worry about how it looks in the snow. It's not something to worry about right now. There we go. Okay, let's add our other one over here. It's going to start right here as the hill starts to come up on this side, and it goes right into the edge of our moon. So I'm going to start here and go straight up if I can. My paint is getting too dry. That is a sign that your paint doesn't have enough water. So if it's not going smoothly up for you, you know, add a little water to it. Okay, once you have that line, let's give it a good base as well. Right there at the edge of our mountain, or hill, I guess. It's not a mountain. All right, there we go. All right, so now we have our trees all set to go. I'm gonna rinse that brush out, and we're gonna have some fun doing all of these branches. Okay, so I want you to grab a flat brush, a medium flat or a small flat. Okay, I'm gonna try a small flat here. See how I like it. Let's start with our back tree, and we're gonna load it up with this gray. Now the thing with these trees that are so fun is you're just gonna be stamping. We're not brushing, we're just stamping with our brush the whole time. Okay, and that's what gives it the look of branches and needles and stuff. Okay, so let's take that flat brush And we're just going to stamp the top to give it some twigs. See that? So just take your brush and stamp. Don't let it be perfect. Now I'm facing my twigs up right now. I'm going to turn them here in a minute, but the top, just to give it some character, I'm facing them up. Okay, I'm going to do it a little darker so you can see it. But these branches, see, I'm going back and forth, making a triangle shape with them facing up. Okay, just like that. Now another thing you can do is you want your tree to come down in a triangle shape. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take some chalk and I will create my triangle with my chalk like this so that my brush will follow that triangle. Okay, and the nice thing is this chalk will just wash right off when you're done. But if you want and you have some chalk handy, you can give yourself a guide, and that way you know your branches are going out that direction. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to turn my branches now and start going out, just like that. And they do not need to be perfect. You're just stamping out as you go. So if you notice, I'm going up and then I kind of turn my branches and start stamping down to create that triangle shape. Remember, this is just a background tree, so it's not going to be super seen, right? All right, and you can give your branches some space or you can have them really close together. Totally up to you and your preference on it. But just keep stamping and coming down and allowing those branches to lie where they lie. That's what gives it the character that you want in your trees. And as you come down, you just create this triangle. And you can hear I'm just stamping. And it's different every time I do this because it just depends on the brush I'm using. So, but we're just going to let those branches come out. On the edges, I kind of drop down sometimes and let them fan out. Or you can create a little triangle in the center of your tree between the branches. All right, but as you bounce your brush up and down, you'll get different branches as you come down. And at the bottom, I'm just going to do a couple little ones, just like that. Okay, and as I come up here, I'm going to fill in a little bit of that space to give the illusion that some of those branches are in the front. We're just filling it in. Good work. Okay, let's do this side tree the same way, only the very tip is starting on the edge of your canvas. You're doing the same thing. You're adding those triangles going up first. I'm going to darken mine so you can see it better. I think it's not dark enough there. Okay. There we go, let's start that. There it is. Okay. I'm going to start by going up first. And then as I come down, I'm going to turn my brush and let those branches start to fan out. Keeping it in this triangle shape if possible. All right. Down, keep fanning out. And this tree is just peeking out, so you don't have to worry too much about the detail of this tree. It's kind of hidden. There we go. Okay, and we're going to come over and do this side as well. Just kind of letting our brush stamp out to create these fun branches. Remember to just try and keep that triangle shape as we go. Okay, all the way down. And I'm not too worried again about this one because it gets so covered by the other tree. But it's awesome when you have the edges showing trees. All right, good work. I hope you enjoyed that process and kind of have a good feeling for it. I'm just gonna make sure my little tree has a good branch there. Okay, I'm gonna switch to black now. Now you're really gonna be able to see it here. Hopefully my brush cooperates with me. Just remember to stamp as we go, okay? So I'm gonna start at the top again. We're just gonna stamp that little, I call it a little chicken foot because it looks a little bit like a chicken foot there, right? And I'm just stamping these branches. You can come down as far as you want until you are ready to start to turn your brush. Okay. And I'm just going to start working my way out. Following my triangle pattern. There we go. Just keep stamping, kind of moving your brush, giving yourself twigs. There you go. You can hear my stamping happening. This brush is just stamping away. There we go. And I'm just trying to keep it moving, letting it kind of go where it wants to. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. You can't see your triangle so well in the snow, so I'm guessing here, right? You're probably guessing with me. Just I'm gauging where, and you can step back and look at it when you're done and just see if you lost your triangle, which I've done before. I'll look at it and say, oh man, that doesn't look like a triangle anymore. I don't know what happened. I lost my triangle, and if that's the case, you just add more black branches. It's easy to adjust that. My tree comes right off the canvas over here on this side. You can probably see. Now as I get down to the bottom, I just do a few little straggler twigs, squigs. Some little stragglers coming out here. Just like that. Okay, they're perfect. Okay, now that that tree's in, let's go ahead and do this one. You're going to be pro at trees. Let's do our little chicken foot on top. There we go. And you'll kind of start to feel it as you come down. You can just start to turn your brush and have it move the opposite direction for you. Okay. Remember, you have snowflakes to add, different things to put in here. These are not your main focus. Your deer is, so be nice to yourself as you do this. All right. For some reason, I have one side that I feel like my branches work for my wrist, and the other is a struggle for me. You might notice that you have a side that just cooperates better than the other. That's normal. We all have it. That's the fun thing with this tree. I love that you can just stamp these branches in, creating that triangle shape without too much effort, and it just looks beautiful with that sky and the snow. You still have the illusion of a pine tree or all the woods going bare in the snow. All right. You can make these trees as wide as you want. It's completely up to you. I'm going to kind of let these fan out a little bit on the bottom here. And let them reach the snow down there. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I go back through and just make sure I have a good solid tree for those branches. And then you can kind of tap in the center, make it look like you have a couple of branches coming down the center. Have a little bit of fun with that. Perfect. All right. We're gonna let our trees dry for just a minute, and we're gonna paint our deer. So let's leave our trees alone and go ahead and put our deer in here. Now I'm going to switch brushes in just a minute. I'm using the black I had on my brush for my trees for my deer, but I'm only painting what my large or medium, I guess, flat, it's large on this deer, can handle in the deer. I'm not going to do all the little stuff with this brush. I'm just going to do the bigger things. So switch brushes if you feel a little more comfortable using something smaller. But let's fill in our deer with black. We have that little tail here. As I get towards the legs, I'm definitely switching brushes. This brush is way too big for all that. But I'm just getting what I can with what's left on my brush. All right. So there's part of our deer. So I'm going to switch brushes now. I'm going to use my detail brush. It's my little line brush, okay? I'll put some black on it. And let's go ahead. I'm not doing my antlers just yet because I want to give my trees a minute to dry before I put my wrist near them. So I like to work down here first. If you want to bravely go for your antlers, go for it. Let's see. We're going to put these little legs and hooves in. These strong legs. And I like to outline first before I fill in. Outlining means I just go along the edge of the line with my brush before I fill it in with black. That gives me a clean edge. Before I start to just quickly fill in. So if you feel better about that, go for it. But here I am outlining first, and that's why. Go. I've got a little bit of a hoof there coming out in the back. Whew, it takes a minute. You gotta slow down here, huh? To fill this in. All right. I go a little quiet when I'm focusing hard on lines. Getting this front hoof is a little tricky. Standing here, I usually hold my canvas in my lap to do close-up work. There we go. Okay. Whew, we got it. All right. Now we're going to do these ears. Actually, I'm going to do the antlers first. You ready? Let's do it. It's just our antlers are a big smile. Okay, so you can start from one end. And we're going to try and just bring that brush down to meet the head there. Now the point is a little more pointy, and as I come, I press harder with my brush as I get closer. But you can just go nice and soft all the way. We're just going to follow that smile around. Just like that. Not bad. All right, and then these little fun antlers, you just follow your line, make them as big as you want. These here on the edge curve a little bit more towards the head. So the one's close to each other there. Go. Oh, that one needs to balance it out a little bit, I think. There we go. All right, and then one more right there. Awesome. Love these big antlers. Love them. Okay, let's do those ears. Let's see, I want this one a little, I don't want them necessarily pointy. We don't want them to look like a, you know, what are those called? Can't think of it. A bowl. There we go. All right, let's do these fun ears coming out. Both sides. Okay. I swear they get bigger every time I do them. It changes. I always end up going further and further out. Oh, I love it. Okay, there we go. We have our deer. I hope you love your deer as much as I do. I love how majestic he is. All right, I'm rinsing my brush. We're going to add a little bit of shadow. Rinse, rinse. Okay, so I'm using my medium flat brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit of gray on there. And let's go right here by our hooves, okay? And we're just going to brush back and forth here. It's pretty dark, honestly. I did it a lot lighter, I think, but I want you to be able to see this. So I'm brushing side to side. Okay, and just remember, if you feel like you have too much shadow, you can take it off just by putting more white on. It's a really easy fix, so don't stress that. Okay, so we have our shadow there. I'm gonna do a little bit over here from the trees. We're gonna come down here, or up here, I guess, by the trees, and give them a little bit of a shadow there. Just like that. Okay. Make sure we have our shadow in everywhere. All right, so once you've done your shadow, if you're feeling like you want less shadow, all you do is put some white on your brush, okay? And you just brush over that shadow or around it, and it just dims it a little bit. Okay, you'll want it dry though before you really do it. Mine's drying really fast, so I'm not having a problem with that so much, but just make sure it's fairly dry. Make sure your gray is nice and light. You don't want your shadow to be taking over your painting. It's just an accent. Alrighty. There we go. So we have our fun shadow in. Our hooves are in the snow. I love it. Love it. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush here. Really good. I'm going to show you, once you rinse it, you can take off your chalk marks if you want to. If you have any chalk like I do on mine, just brush right over it and it's gone. Just like that. Okay, we're about done. So we're just doing the fun stuff now. I'm going to use my largest brush. I mean, it's all been fun, but this is just super easy. So you can relax and enjoy it. Just take the back of your largest brush. We're going to make our big snowflakes by dipping the back of our brush in some white. Okay. And you're going to randomly dot wherever you want these snowflakes to be. They can be big or small, but these are the ones you really want to show up. Okay, we're going to do some splattering and stuff, and that's a lot of fun too. So this isn't it, but anywhere you want your large, bright snowflakes to show up, that's where you're going to place them right now. You can cover something up if something's bothering you with a snowflake. I have done that before. Here we go. We're just gonna put these in here. It really brightens up our painting too. These fun snowflakes everywhere. I'm gonna put them inside the moon as well. Can't really see them, but they give your painting texture. And it's really beautiful. There we go. We put them around our antlers. Just kind of sporadic. Put some in the corner here. Coming in our tree. This adds so much light when we do a winter wonderland scene. Okay, so have some fun with your snowflakes. Add them wherever you feel you need them. Let's see, I think I'm going to put a couple in this tree. Just like that. Okay, so once you feel good about where you've placed your snowflakes, let them sit for just a second. Grab your detail brush, and I just separated my leg there with a little bit of a stroke and put some light right along the edge. See that? It adds a little something with your detail brush. All right, so now you just want a brush that flicks really well. Okay, this is our artist's favorite part. They love this. Every time they're at the studio, it's just super therapeutic. You can just flick away and add all that fun snow to your canvas. But you want a brush that flicks. It's a little bit stiff. I like this round one. It's pretty stiff. It has stiff bristles. Okay, any brush will work. If you have a flat one that has stiff bristles as well, that's great. But we're gonna load it up with some white. First dip it in water, then load it up with the leftover white on your plate. And you're actually going to flick it towards you. You wouldn't think so, but you're gonna take your brush and pull towards you, and it'll flick it towards the canvas. So I'm gonna pull towards me and just start flicking my canvas with that white. And there it goes. It's just flicking away. You can see it landing all over and giving us that winter wonderland. So fun. All right, once you have enough on there that you love and you love it, we're gonna switch and just put a little bit of gold on our brush. You have a little bit of gold. It just gives it that winter sparkle, and I love it. But you wanna make sure you put water in that gold. I'll show you how mine looks. See how watered down that is? Okay, it's very watered down. Has a lot of water in it. You can the gold is a little trickier because it's thicker. So I flick it a couple times on my plate before doing it. Okay. All right, once I think I have it, Here we go. And it's pretty heavy, so just a couple of flicks will do it for you. You can even lay your canvas down if you want to. Love that. Perfect. Gives it that fun glow. And then I take black because I wanted my deer to stay in the shadow here. I'm just going to make sure I put some black back over it. Just like that. Anywhere you may have flicked it a little bit too much, just go right back over it with some black to keep him in the shadows. I love it, guys. Love it so much. I hope you enjoy painting this with me. I had the best time painting with you. Remember to sign your work because you've worked hard on it and you did a beautiful job, and we want, as artists, we always sign our work, right? So I'm going to find a spot here on my canvas, just kind of in the corner and using your small detail brush, just sign your name. Sarah, there you go. And there you have it, guys. There's your winter deer. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please tag us so we can see your work, and we'll see you next time. Bye.